Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Welcome to the show, y'all. We're going to get right back into this stacking, y'all. Now, across town, in a high-rise apartment with a view of the city skyline, Big G stood. He's standing out there, his arms crossed. You know, he a big dude. He's staring out the window, and he watching his kingdom. He trying to figure, is everything rising or is it burning down? He built this. The streets, they still bow down to him, right? He was a legend, the architect of something that, you know what I'm saying, nobody ever thought could happen. He brought rival crews together. He the one who carved out peace by force, y'all. You gotta understand that his methods, they weren't gentle, but they were effective. Beneath it. Now, Joe's vision was spreading like wildfire. Kids in every corner were talking about going legit, forming their own legal companies, leaving behind the chaos, but not everyone saw that as hope. Some saw that as a betrayal. They didn't like that. Now, Big G, he turned to all his lieutenants, Tony Capo, Manny Ice. These men he'd been trusted, you know what I'm saying, like brothers forever. But now, barely recognizing them through the layers of their ego and paranoia, because they looking at it like, this your dude. Did you know he was doing this? So he looking at him. And he reading him. He says, so y'all trying to tell me the kid's a problem? His voice, it was even, it was sharp, it was toned, you know what I'm saying, to the point to where they ain't finna play one. So Tone Capo, you know, he leaned it back, he lit him a cigarette. He said, no, he's not a problem, G. He's a disease. You cure that before it spreads. Then Manny, he jumped in. He making your name look weak. Talking about taxes and LLCs and stuff like that, all this old business stuff. Next thing you know, he'll be telling folks to call the police. Big G, he shook his head slow. He looking at him. You think I got this far by killing the future? You think that's how this works? So Tone, he took a real deep pull off of that cigar, and he blew the smoke out toward the ceiling. He said, sometime the future needs a reminder of who built the past. Now, meanwhile, word of Joe's plan was turning the streets upside down. It spread. Every block had their own opinion about it. Some called him a genius. Others said he was soft. You know what I'm saying? The tension, it was worse than a beef, man. It was confusion. Everybody was wondering who side to get on. And the confusion, you know, when you got confusion in the streets, people get killed. And then, adding fuel to the fire, here goes Slag. You know, this once upon a time, this Joe's brother in arm. Now he the face of the opposition. But see, there's some things about Slag, you know, years ago, he got exiled for some old scandal people don't really want to talk about. But Slag had come back with a vengeance. He was aligning with Tone Capo. They were building an alliance. And they were hungry. Some young ones, dude, that's riding with them, they were hungry. And then you got these bitter ex-leaders who saw Joe's rise as an insult. They didn't like that. That threatened what they were trying to do. So Slag didn't just want Joe dead. He didn't just want him dead. He wanted him erased. He wanted him done. So he started putting out these flyers, y'all. I'm going to tell y'all something. Now, pay attention to what he about to do, because this is how the streets work. He started putting out these flyers. That's digital dirt, if y'all want to know. It had Joe's face stamped all across the top. Right above that, he said, in bold black letters, DEA, all capital letters, DEA informant. Got fake text messages. Got a fabricated transcript. Fake voice recordings edited to show like Joe talking with the feds. And it worked. It worked. The streets started to buzz. And in the streets, man, suspicion, it's like cancer. And Joe's enemies, man, they were quick to want to spread it around. They knew this was the easiest way to kill him softly. But see, back down there in Ironcrest, Joe looked at the photo. You know, he had one. It was put on the inside, you know what I'm saying, of the building he was in by somebody he didn't know what it was, right? So what he did, he went to a locker. He went to the locker to find inspiration. And when he opened up the locker, what he saw on the inside of the locker was a picture. It was a picture of his 8-year-old son, Zion. Big eyes, big smile. He was living with his mom across town. Joe hadn't seen him in a month. Anytime he got down, this is where he went for inspiration. All he had to do was look at his son. He already had the look that Joe had when he was young. And Joe was thinking to himself, man, this is my guy. Every time he see him smile, it hit him where it hurts. It hits him in his heart. And his guy, Stat Dram, he overheard Joe. And he looked over, he said, hey, bro, you got to tighten up. Tighten up. They putting the Black Knight on the chessboard. This ain't about them no more. This is about your legacy. So Joe sat down beside him. He said, man, legacy don't mean much if I'm 6 feet under. Stat moved the pawn on the board right there, the board right there. He said, that's why we move first. Then Dre came into the room. He moving real fast, right? And then he looked at him and trying to figure out what was going on. He said, yo, out of breath. We got chatter coming from a Fed scanner. Then these unmarked vans, they've been rolling through Ironcrest. It was DEA. Maybe. They didn't know. But somebody was watching them. Somebody is hearing the same thing. See, the streets, when the streets get to talking, police hear it too. See, the streets, is something about the streets. The streets, when they get to talking, it ain't like they're talking to certain individuals, right? Anybody that got their ear to the streets gonna hear what's going on in the DEA, the FBI, the CIA, all these people, they got their ears to the street. So Joe, he was like, let them watch. Let them watch. When I move, it'll be too fast for any surveillance. So I ain't worried about that. Later on that evening, Joe got this cryptic message through the grapevine. Big G didn't sign off on the hit. Joe sat with the burner phone in his hand for a long time. Big G's number was still burned into his brain, from back in the day. He knew this was it. He knew this was a crossroads. He went and got his burner phone, at the corner store. You could pay cash only for stuff like that. Then he dipped off into the alley where no cameras could follow him. His fingers is shaking. And he dialed it. It rang once, then it paused, then it rang again, and then Big G picked that thing up. He said, you got a lot of nerve. I got a lot of nerve, Joe said. Still got ears for one. After a long pause, it's all he said. Old water plant, 2 a.m., come along, and then hung up. Joe closed the phone up and he just exhaled. He either want to talk peace or write my obituary. The sun is going down over the city, y'all. Y'all know how they look. Everything is tripping and all this and that. But this particular night, the city is popping with energy, man. Fireworks going off, sirens all in the neighborhood and all this and that. And behind every celebration was a loaded gun and a loaded question. Whose city is this? Whose is it? Everybody wanted to know what's really going on, right? Everybody wanted to know. Now check this out. Now citywide, it was halfway through the celebration. But everything had changed. See, citywide is normally about everybody getting together, the heads coming together, everybody kicking it, realigning, making acquaintances and all this and that, right? But this is different. What started out is something about unity. It done got turned into some sour. Now people are paranoid. You got the sound of marching bands echoing, and all that, and girls in them outfits and they dancing at the intersections, Like the city had nothing to feel. But the alleyways whispered something different. The streets weren't celebrating anymore. They were watching. Joe, he's standing up on top of the rooftop. He's looking down on Ironcrest, looking out over the city block where the party was. Now from up there, it looked like peace. Kids running around having fun and all this and that. You got vendors out there. I'm telling you, when they do a citywide, it's like a big block party. Everybody out there. You got them vendors down there cooking them ribs and all this and that. Beef ribs. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And that old school music is bumping. Everybody playing, man. It's bumping. But he saw what a lot of people didn't see. He seen this unfamiliar face in the crowd. These dudes, they had these empty eyes. Empty. They were just standing, watching. People who won from Ironcrest posted up like they owned the turf. The celebration had become a mask for something else. An execution was being dressed up like tradition. And down below, you Slag, this dude, he playing his hand. He stepped on the stage at the end of the stage, you know what I'm saying? That's right at the edge of where the citywide block was out in South Point. He dressed up in all black. Dark shades hiding that twitch. You know, he had a twitch in his left eye, y'all. Remember that, it's gonna be important. He grabbed the mic like he was a preacher, about to lay down something, you know what I'm saying? Speak some prophecy to the people, right? He said, check this out. Y'all celebrating like we unified. But there's a snake in the garden. People looked up. Phones came out. Eyes narrowed. You want to know the truth about Joe? He ain't who you think he is. He out here making moves, talking to all this legit business noise. But word on the inside says Joe been working for the DEA. Everybody, they tripping. You know how people out in the crowd, they start talking while the person on the stage still talking, but it's low enough, everybody understand what the next person to him is saying and all this and that. He's setting y'all up to get indicted while he building a corporation with fair protection. Slag, you know, he up there, he waved these folded papers out. He got them in his hand, just stunned, putting on. He said, I got names, codes, time, phone taps, all of us right here. It's from an inside source. I'm telling y'all, this is the real deal. So it was a dude out in the crowd. He shouted out, that's real paperwork? Slag looked at him, looked him dead in his eyes. All this stuff is staged, right? He said, you think I'll be saying this on this stage? If it wasn't, I don't move sloppy, homie. He passed the fake transcript down to one of the local leaders, right? This dude's name was Smoke. He flipping it open. You read this, and then you decide. And just like that, the seed was planted. Whether it was true or not didn't matter. In the streets, man, an accusation, man, that stuff right there lead to an execution. Now back in the city, Joe was moving different now. Things had changed. He's a target. The heat in the street wasn't just criminal. It was emotional. And that's way more dangerous, y'all. Way more dangerous. He and Monique, they was sitting in the back of the laundromat, chilling. In that area right there, they done converted the laundromat in the back, you know what I'm saying, like a war room. They got the surveillance monitors. They can see anybody coming and going. Burner phones, you know what I'm saying? They buzzing every few minutes, all this and that. They saying you fed, Monique told her, not looking up from her phone. Joe didn't blink. He ain't concerned about it. He said, let him say it. You not gonna respond? He said, not yet. Monique looking at him. You planning to flip it? Joe nodded. Let the lie live long enough, it'll show who's really scared of the truth. She smiled at him, you know what I'm saying? You're either brilliant or you suicidal. Joe looked back at her, right? He said, maybe both. You know what I'm saying? And he stepped outside. He had to get some air. And he got in one of the cars and shit. Dre was behind the wheel. He said, you sure about this meet with Big G? Joe looked at him and said, nah, but it's necessary. See, sometimes when you doing things out there in the streets and you trying to make moves, right, and whether you think that the person got your best interest at heart or not, sometimes you got to meet with them anyway just to see what's going on, right? Now Joe, he went and got him a burner phone, from the Greyhound bus station, right? And one of them kiosks, you know what I'm saying? And he dialed a number. It was Big G's private line. It rang once, then a long pause. Then it rang again. And it was his voice. So you got a lot of nerve. And Joe spoke like a man who had nothing left to fear. I ain't got nerves, G. I got plans. You still got ears for one? Pause for a second. Be at the old water plant, 2 a.m. Come along. Hung it up. Joe stared at the phone. You think he knows? Dre asked him. It don't matter. You're already in it. Now, by 2 a.m., it's rolling up real slow, but it gets there. Joe rolls solo to the abandoned building, right? On the edge of the city. Every step, listen, you know how them buildings, they done broke down. Every step inside that broken down building, man, it was loud. Plank, plank, plank. So it really wasn't no way that he could walk silently and get there, right? It was dark. It was dark except for this one little lamp that glowed in the corner. Big G sat in the chair like he a king, testing the loyalty of his son. Because he really looked at Joe like a son. Big G asked him, you think this can work? Didn't even stand up and ask him that. Joe looked at him, he said, man, I know it can. I got contracts, infrastructure, and I got unity. What I need is peace. Big G lit him a cigar. You need peace, laughing at him. I needed peace when I buried my brother in 91. But I ain't got it. I took order instead. Joe leaned in, looking him dead in his eyes. He said, then take it again. Just a different kind. Let the old heads eat. Let the soldiers grow into bosses. We don't gotta die out here to prove nothing. Big G took a long drag on that cigar. I'll talk to him. Let me talk to him. But behind Joe, in the shadows of the rafters, a figure was standing there, held a weapon. The green light had already been given. It had already been given. Because this wasn't a peace offering. It was a setup. Now back in Ironcrest, Monique, she monitored the live tap, Capo's burning line. She got it. They talking wipeout, she told Dre. Full clean sweep tonight. All of us gotta go. Dre's eyes got big. You get to Joe yet? The text got sent, but he ain't answering. Joe had just stepped outside the water plant. It was humming, right, with that night air. A message lit up on his burner screen. You know how them phones is. Slag say UDEA. The crowd is wilding. Get off the streets. Another message followed. They moving tonight. Not talking peace. They talking funeral. Yours, Khalif's, mine. Move now. If you want to know how this thing play out, you know what it is. You're going to have to tune in to the next episode. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.